Welcome back to the Jimmy Williams Story, Episode 2, Family.
When I think of family and being real young, I just remember a lot of people in the house, and we used to, make fun jokes about families with large families where the people sleep. They sleep on a shelf. Y'all got so many people in your house, you're sleeping on a shelf, even today we talk about different nationalities that they so much love. They stay together and work together, and then they make it, but they don't branch out and go sit their separate ways when things are tough. They bond together as a family, and that's where I think about my family. There were so many people that stayed with us. My mother would take in my cousins, my uncles and my aunts, so at my house in Washington, D.C. was a row house, and I just remember so many of us stayed in that house, and it was never a problem, and 6 brothers, 2 sisters, and that just counted my immediate family, but I had just lots of cousins that were staying, and like I say, a couple of uncles there. We even had another roommate, a roomer, which was a blind man that stayed with us, and my mother made it work, man, and of course. And we didn't come up short on the food. I just was able. I just remember eating a lot of chicken, a lot of. My mother could do leftovers with the best of them. If you ate something one day, she'd make that same food like a gourmet meal the next day. She'd change it around a little bit, and so my mother, she just loved people, and she wasn't even into the church at that time. Later on, my mom got into the church. My mother was, she used to have little card parties with her older friends and card parties, and they would have some alcohol in the house, and that all disappeared later. I mean, I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I just sort of changed my mom, because my mom ended up being a minister, and I sort of changed my mom, and so I love my mama, and I love still playing that song. I always love my mama, and like everybody loves their mama, So everybody's got a story, so this is just mine. Yeah. And my brother that was in South Carolina, he didn't stay with us until later on in life. He stayed in South Carolina. My oldest brother, Ernest, he was like about 3 years older than me, and he was there, and I kind of looked up to him. I looked up to him. I was second in the family tree, and I had another brother after him, Edward, and then I had a sister, Judy, one of my sister, Judy, she's still working today, and she's a sweetheart, and then my other sister, June, she's a little younger. She's about born like in 19. Oh, I ain't supposed to tell her age. 1960, and she works at the White House and everything. So she's a tax accountant and everything. Of course, Judy ended up working at the post office, which I did myself. So we found a great career in the postal service, and Judy's still working there now. And so what else we got? I had 2 brothers. I had 4, like I say, six. It was 6 boys, so I really had 5 brothers. So, but nobody really picked up a baseball in my family. It seemed like except for Edward, and he would mess around out on the field. We call him Danny Boy. He would mess around out on the field with me every now and then, but he didn't have it. But at least he got out there with me. We had a little fun. I just remember doing that. That was even after I had played a little bit. Came back home. So he went out there. He always talking trash like he was pretty good ball player, but he didn't know what pretty good was in baseball. At least I knew what a good baseball player was. But now getting down to my brother Stanley. Now my Stanley, he was a track star at Dunbar High School. He played football for Dunbar High School, right across from that boys club today, still right over there, Dunbar High School. He was a walk-on football player at the University of Arkansas with Lou Holtz. And he played in 3 bowl games there. He played in the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and it was another one. I don't know if it's the Sugar Bowl or another one, but he played in 3 of them. And Stanley Williams. And everybody say that my cousins today say my favorite cousin. Nope. My favorite cousin is Stanley, and I understood that because Stanley was a sweetheart. I mean, he was a man and a sweetheart. I tell you, but he played that game of football. So I don't know how he did it, and he played at the highest level you can play in college ball at the University of Arkansas, but he got a little sick, at the age of 24. He passed away to what's that disease in your throat there? What's that?
Thyroid.
Thyroid condition. He had a thyroid condition, and it was a shock to the family. He passed away. And one story I always remember about Stanley, and he came home with a snake in a little box, in a little cage, in a glass box thing. And my mother said, "Son, you can stay here, but the snake can't." So I always remember that story. And you know who ended up with the snake, right? I did. I put that snake in my house, and he was in a little box there, and he used to feed him mice. And I never saw that snake eat that mouse or mice, whatever. And he would put him in there, and then you go and leave, but that snake would never eat that mouse until you weren't him around. And one day I put the cage, well, I keep saying cage, but the box right by my patio door, and it's kind of cool right there because it was the winter time, and the snake wouldn't move. So I thought I'd kill the snake. I thought I don't know. The thing wouldn't move, and I said, I called my mother. I say, something wrong with the snake. The snake won't move. So I brought it in, put it in the kitchen. Snake in the kitchen. Now, man, and the snake moved. So when I came back, he had moved. So that's my story about my brother with the snake and playing for Lou Holtz and playing college football. So we really looked up to him. The family made a trip out to Arkansas. We drove all the way to Arkansas to see him play. I think they played Texas TCU that day, I think. And we really enjoyed ourselves watching him play football, And I don't know, I had another brother named Leon Williams. He was a decorated Air Force retiree, decorated Air Force, man. He'd done so many things, and I always try to get him to call me. And I found out later when he was inducted to the ZIM and to the they have it's not a sorority, that's women, but it's some organization he's in, the ZIM. I can't remember what that is. But fraternity like type things that that's terrible. And I know it, and I got pictures of when I went to one of his functions, and he was like the grand master of this thing. And when they read off all the things he did in the military and all his everything that he had contributed to and donated to and helped with, his list was long. I said, I see why he don't have time to call anybody. So that was Leon Williams, and he just passed away a couple of years ago. And of course we had Herman Williams. Well, that was the baby brother, Leon. And Herman Williams was a brother that just passed away just in 2022. And this guy, he was a workaholic. He was like a jack of all trades guy. He loved working on cars and things like that. So, and he just passed away, and that was a real sad story for us too. So, and we had a baby brother that passed away at a young age from meningitis. So, that was sad. So it's only 3 of us left now. My sisters, June and Judy and James. So you see the J's. My mom put the J's right there, and that's the ones that's left right now. All the J's: Judy, James, and June. So I don't think I left out anybody, but great family. Everybody kind of did a little bit something different, a little bit something different. Although me and my sister Judy, we both worked in the Postal Service.
I remember you saying too, your mother would always buy the World Book Encyclopedia.
Oh, that was I think that was the key to my reading. When she bought those World Book Encyclopedias, I got right into them. I mean, I was good at scanning for stuff, but I looked up the Baseball Hall of Fame. It wasn't hardly anybody in that book, a Hall of Fame. I mean, it was guys like Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, and Walter Johnson, and Babe Ruth back then. It wasn't one black player when I first started looking at it. I don't even know my favorite Jewish player. He played for Detroit. His name escapes me. Getting too old, man. And because I just kind of I was into the books on players. I knew all the players' stats back in the day. And if you played, and I got a box score was the main thing. Any baseball player loved box scores. And if I could find me a box score, I was in heaven. I was in heaven with the box score. And that's how I learned a lot about players and reading the newspaper. But that World Book Encyclopedia kind of increased my knowledge even when I was going to school. When things were happening, I could come back and look up something. If I got something in geography or any kind of thing like I had some geometry, biography, geography, of course, with the world history stuff. I mean, I used to love looking up world history things, but the two main things I looked up was Bible stuff, religious stuff, and because I was kind of curious about the Bible. And I used to look stuff up in that World Book Encyclopedia. It wasn't the Bible, but it gave me a lot of information. And baseball definitely up until that time, because that was like the 60s when I was doing that. It could have been the 50s, really. It could have been the 50s when I got those World Book Encyclopedias. So.
And you were watching the World Series at that time, right?
Yeah, I remember my first World Series was more like when I was so I remember the 59 World Series for sure, but 57, 58, definitely, I remember that because the games were played in the daytime during school time, and I remember the Yankees were playing Milwaukee Braves, so I remember Hank Aaron was playing there, and Billy Bruton, and Bob Buell, and I knew all the players, So I do remember hearing about those players in the 57, 58 World Series. And I really got more into it when I was like 13 year old in 1959 when the Go-Go White Sox played the Dodgers. And one of the players that played for the White Sox that shut the Dodgers out one day ended up being my coach in 1969 in Daytona Beach, Bob Shaw. And I just got his book just the other day.
Wow.
At this late date, Bob Shaw was my manager, and of course Maury Wills was on that team for the Dodgers, and I ended up meeting a lot of those guys later on in life down the road, either as coaches or whatever, in the minor leagues. So that's one of the things that really got me. You hear about guys when you're a young age, and you end up playing with them or against them, and that really kind of really intimidated me a lot sometimes.
Yeah. It's a real full circle moment.
Oh yeah, real full circle.
And you were a newspaper boy too, right?
Oh. I started serving newspapers, the Washington Daily News. At the time, we had 3 newspapers in the city: the Washington Post. Everybody knows the Washington Post now. The Evening Star, and the Washington Daily News. The Washington Daily News was a small one. It was like the small newspaper, and but a lot of people. I mean, I like the Washington Daily News. I mean, it's so much that I ended up start serving newspapers. I started serving them, and I started like in mid-year my 6th grade. I know I started in 6th grade because I knew I served newspapers all from the 6th grade to mid-season till baseball season started in my 12th grade year. And I love that. I learned to be a saver I learned that from my mom because I used to take money to the bank for her, all the way from Northeast Washington all the way over to Connecticut Avenue to put money in Guardian Federal Savings and Loan on Connecticut Avenue. And I used to go pay her bills sometime down at the bank, pay her electric bill and stuff. And I understood what it was to pay bills back then and to save money. So I did learn that lesson from my mom, was to save your money, and you got to work. So I did serve papers for 6 years, and it was a big delight when I quit. I quit serving newspapers after we came back to school in January. I quit so I could play baseball and wouldn't have to worry about it for my senior year, And I was able to really save a lot of. When I say a lot of money, I was able to save a significant amount. I have a bank account from 12 to being almost 18. So I was really to like 17. So I was 17 when I quit, but when I started, I was probably 12. So I served newspapers for 6 years.
That's pretty great for a 12-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of working, so where did your mother work?
Oh, my mother was the professional term for her job was a silk finisher. And I said, what's a silk finisher? Actually, she worked in the cleaners in Georgetown, like at Foxhall Road, MacArthur Boulevard. And she worked at the cleaners right there. And I used to go meet her to come back home with her. I would catch the bus to go get her and come back home with her. That's when I wasn't driving and she wasn't driving. She used to go to work on the bus, come back on the bus. I would catch the bus over to come back on the bus. Then later on we end up with cars. So I used to go, I would take her to work or go pick her up or whatever. And so I was a driver, So it got to be full circle there from just going on the bus to ride back with my mom on the bus to going to pick her up in a car, once I got my driver's license and everything. I think I did it with my learners. But, yeah, she worked in. And the thing about that I always remember about her, the guys that she worked for, they really loved my mom. And my mom would, and I always wondered why they let her she used to bring clothes in there. All our clothes were dry clean. We didn't wash anything. Everything was dry clean. So she used to take a lot of stuff. The church would ask her to take clothes to the cleaners and everything for her. And I used to feel sorry for my mom lugging all that stuff. And I wondered what the job would say. They're bringing all these clothes in there. But anyway, she worked as a silk finisher, which was pressing clothes, cleaning clothes, and just doing special assignments for. Georgetown was a real high-end area to us back in the day, which it still is today. And the people were nice. When I used to go over, I used to end up talking with the bosses and different people. And one of the clients ended up being a Washington Senator scout, that tried to sign me, Joe Branzell. My mom knew Joe Branzell before I did, So they used to talk a lot about me playing baseball, and he ended up coming to try to sign me and watch me in some workouts at the D.C. Stadium, or it was RFK Stadium. It was D.C. Stadium first, but so that was the connection with her job. A scout used to bring his clothes there, and my mom got to talk with him quite a bit.
All right, I think that's probably good for that.